Can I have a show of hands? How many of you have been hospitalized before? Wow. And I'm sure the rest of you, have you ever visited a hospital to visit your loved ones or your friends? Come on. I think almost everybody. So yes, I'm sure at one point in your life, many of you, almost everybody here, have visited a hospital. Well, for me, I've been hospitalized 4 times. The first time happened when I was very young, and it was the last 3 times that left a very deep impression on me. I remember it happened about 20 years ago when I was in the army. I was hospitalized 3 times within a very short period of 3 months for pneumonia. The first time, my left lung was infected. The doctor said, no worries, I'll give you very strong medication, you'll be up and running in no time. The next month, I was back, and he looked at the x-ray again. He said, very interesting, it was your left lung previously, and now it's your right lung. No worries, I'll give you stronger medication. Okay. The following month, I was back again. Now both my lungs were infected. Well, this time, the doctor didn't say anything. He just looked at the x-ray, he shook his head as if it was my fault. What can I do? Well, you can imagine, it was a terrible experience for me. Well, mostly because I was really sick then, but it was also because of the very bad patient experience that I had. I remembered the very sterile wards and corridors, and what was worst was the hospital smell. I'm sure you can understand what I'm talking about. You know, this combination of the sweat of the unwashed patients, medication, detergent, and blood all mixed together. It was terrible. And at every chance, when my friends or relatives visit me, I would take a chance to go out for a walk with them, just to escape. So fast forward a few more years, I graduated from architecture school, and I was very fortunate to have the great opportunity to design a hospital from scratch. Well, in the process, I got to meet many people, doctors, nurses, policymakers, operators, and I learned a lot from them. But what I felt was really important for me is that I get the opportunity to make a difference. I want to design a hospital that's different from other hospitals. I do not want patients to have the same bad patient experience as me, as the one I had many years ago. But as a young architect, designing his hospital for the first time, I have no idea how to do it. But I was very lucky because my client, one of them, he's a very wise man. And he shared something with me, which I thought was really insightful. He told me, Jerry, we are not in healthcare. No. We are more like a repair shop. Because by the time patients come to us, they already have the problems. And we need to fix their problems. And that is why we need more operating theaters and we need to buy more X-ray machines. The real issue here is that we are not teaching people to take care of their own health. And that is why chronic diseases are on the rise, and we need to keep building more and more hospital beds. So long-term solution, he said, is to educate people to take good care of their own health. So that really set me thinking. Okay, so how do I design a hospital that can promote health? How do I design a hospital that do not feel, look, or smell like one? How to design a hospital that can help in the healing process of patients. And I feel very strongly the key strategy is to integrate architecture with nature. So these words of this wise man, he helped me to shape this project that I'm sharing with you today. Khoo Teck Puat Hospital. So Khoo Teck Puat Hospital is meant to be a replacement hospital for Alexandra Hospital. And for those of you who have been to Alexandra Hospital, you know that it's a very old hospital dating back to the colonial times. The whole campus, 13.5 hectares, is made up of very low 3 to 4-story buildings set in a large landscape garden. So the main challenge to the team right from the start is how do we design a new hospital at the size of 1/4 the size, with the same concept and ambience, but with a larger program. But very lucky because the site that was chosen is next to 2 parks. So very instinctively, what we did was to create a garden courtyard right in the center of the hospital to draw nature right into the center. And also very lucky, there's a huge body of water next to the site. Yishun Pond. And the next strategy that we did was to create a series of water features to draw in this other natural element right into the hospital. You know, like in Chinese feng shui, you always say the water comes in, it's much better than water flows out. So same idea. And in terms of the program, very easy to remember, 2 basements, a 4-story podium, a 6-story specialist outpatient clinic, 8-story private ward tower, and a 10-story subsidized ward tower. Whenever I bring visitors around the hospital, I always tell them it's very easy to remember the number of stories of the individual blocks, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So I guess I've done a good job because they never asked me again. So of course, we wanted to create the hospital in the garden concept. And we think we have done so very successfully in the main introduction of this garden courtyard right in the center. So what is also very important is that it actually introduces light, nature, and natural ventilation right into the basements, so that the basement doesn't feel like a basement anymore. But what it also does is to create a central orientating device in the hospital. So wherever you go, you can orientate yourself to the main garden courtyard so you never get lost. I guess one of the worst things that can happen to visitors and patients to a hospital when they're visiting for the first time is to get lost and they feel even more pressurized. Okay, I remember one of the design brief the CEO gave us right from the start. He says, you know, I want you to design a hospital that when I step in, my blood pressure will lower. So I said, okay, let's see how to do that. I believe we have done so very successfully in the introduction of nature. So, and talking about nature is everywhere, on the rooftops, even the outdoor toilet. You know, we're surrounded by gardens and water features. Basically, you're doing your business in nature. So welcome to Khoo Teck Puat Hospital. So right upon arrival, you see and be hit by the amount of greenery that's around. It's a hospital without fences. Anybody can walk in. And the view here, it shows a review how the hospital opens up to welcome you. Actually, it draws nature right into the heart of the hospital. And we have actually placed the most public functions, namely the food court and the auditorium, facing this wonderful view of Yishun Pond. And through collaborations between the hospital and multi-agencies, we have created various gardens, viewing towers, jogging tracks, and I must say it's a favorite spot for visitors and patients and residents to come here in the mornings and evenings to exercise. It's fantastic. So you're surrounded by greenery everywhere, bright sunshine, great ventilation. When it's a good weather, fantastic. And you will not imagine where this space is. This is actually the waiting area outside the emergency department. We wanted to create a different type of waiting area out in the nature where people can feel less anxious when they're waiting for news of their loved ones in the emergency department after they've been transferred by the ambulances. And we even want to bring a slice of greenery up into the wards as well, so that patients, when lying on their beds, can have a view of greenery from their beds. And this is a spot that I feel was really exciting for me. This is actually the urban farm on top of the clinics. So basically, the hospital invited residents to come as volunteers to take care of the farms. And at the last count, there are about 100 species of fruit trees, 50 species of vegetables, and 50 species of herbs. So this is a favorite place I like to bring visitors, because as a Singaporean, I have no idea how my food is grown. So it's exciting to see paddy fields, to see corn, to see sugarcane, to see fruit trees. And I'm sure the visitors feel the same way. And this is a fully organic farm that the volunteers will sell to the public regularly on a weekly basis. And some of this food makes their way into the kitchen, where they're served to patients and the staff as well. And talking about food, on the way to the food court, you'll see this wall. So basically, this is a wall where you can measure your body mass index. So how do you do that? Well, if you know your weight, you stand against the wall, and you know, by matching the height, whether you're on a low, moderate, or high risk. So then you have a better informed decision whether what type of diet you should be having if you do make a way to the food court. And don't worry, if you do not know your weight, there's a machine inside the food court. So when you do get to the food court, you see that it's a very different one. The calories of all the food items are labeled, and basically the hospital worked closely with the operator to make sure that the healthier options are cheaper options. So your brown rice is cheaper than your white rice. Your drinks not just that, the drinks that have lower sugar content is cheaper than those with high sugar content. So the hospital hopes to motivate people to eat more healthily by incentivizing them. And I can see from the response, it's working. Now, of course, health messages abound in the hospital. Use the stairs, don't use the lift, and they even conduct competitions to design bicycle stands to encourage people to cycle to work, or residents to cycle to the hospital instead of using transport, well, if they're healthy enough. And the hospital has seen unplanned users. Now, what do I mean? Traditionally, students in Singapore like to go to Changi Airport to cram for the examinations. That's because there's free air conditioning. Now, they come to the hospital. Very strange. But I'm glad the hospital do not chase them out because they say as long as they don't disturb the patients, no problem. So I'm glad for that. And one of my favorite encounters is with this uncle who say he lives nearby, and he say, I come over, as frequent as I can to read my newspaper because it's so calm and serene. I love that. And the hospital even conducts health promotion activities such as, water saving, and even I see drama serials being filmed in the hospital. Talking about drama. So Khoo Teck Puat Hospital prides itself as a health-promoting hospital, and I believe, as I've shown today, it's done so very successfully in many ways. It has set a benchmark locally and internationally, and I believe all hospitals should be designed like this. And I'm also proud to share that we have built on the success of Khoo Teck Puat Hospital, and we have just completed Ng General Hospital in Jurong. Now, the groundbreaking concept of giving every patient a window, I feel is in the right direction in creating health design. And I hope to have the opportunity to discuss this project with you another time. Thank you.